everybody, it's me, Laura, and today we're going to be doing my Hearts and Teapots eggshell design, and I love this thing. It's so cute. It's really... Now, I will say I'm going to be giving you two different versions because the one that you kind of see gets a little busy, right? Anyway, I'm coming in here with a chicken eggshell, and I'm bringing out my black. The black has been rolled out on a number 4 setting on my Atlas pasta machine, and I'm going to try and cut a nice, you might say a nice lengthy strip of this. It's about 1/2 inch in width, and then I'm going to have this wrap around my eggshell at an angle. Now once I get this connected up here where the black meets the black, I'll use my Exacto knife to just kind of cut off the excess. I'll place this down and then I'll try and pat down that nice strip all the way around the egg. And remember, this is a chicken egg, so it's not a duck or a goose or anything, so it's a chicken egg. Anyway, once I have that done, I'm going to bring in my burnisher and I'm going to just burnish the line, if you will. And I'm also going to trim it up. So, like, I've got a little bit of an overhang there, so I thought, yeah, just gently cut off the little extra black that's kind of, kind of hanging down there a little. And then I'll bring in that burnisher and I'll start kind of just scoring the two lines together. This way then it'll look like it's all one particular band running seamlessly around the egg. Once I have that though completely scored, I'm going to bring in my Kemper circle cutters and bring in the different various sizes, because this is where you could kind of decide whether or not you want to go larger or smaller. I took one of the larger ones that I had cut out on my silver clay, which was rolled out on a number 4 setting on my Atlas pasta machine. And then I just kind of patted it down on the very top of the egg, made sure it was in place there, and then I lifted up the little area there where the hole is, checked to see where that is, and then brought in my needle tool to go ahead and punch down into that hole. The reason for this is because when you place this in the oven, and you will, you want to make sure you have a hole there where the air can move in and out of the egg so it can vent, and that it won't just go pop in your oven. You don't want to have that happen, right? I mean, at least for me in this climate, it's very important. Anyway, right here I also brought in a stack of my peach, and I would say like a medium maroon or like a pink, and I thought cut off a slice, rolled it through my Atlas pasta machine, and that was rolled out on a number 2 setting, so it was fairly thick. And then I'm just creating a row of checker here that I'm going to run around on the black and around on that silver disc on top. All right, so now we're going to start bringing in our Keoker cutter set, which is their coffee cutter set, and oh, I love this set. It's it was one of the first sets I ever bought, and I was like, oh, I love this thing. And I finally thought, I finally have an excuse to use this set. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the, I guess this is an espresso type coffee teapot. I don't have espresso much, as you can tell. But I'm cutting out these two because I thought there's some possibility here that I don't think people are taking into account. And what I mean by that is sometimes when you get a cutter, you're like, okay, this is too big. Or this might be a little bit too small, but like a lot of them are too big. And so I'm like, how can I make this work for me? And so I'm just going to cut these out. Again, I used my little water sprayer to be able to go down into the clay. The clay itself was rolled out on a number 2 setting with my Atlas pasta machine. I found I could not go past a number 2 setting. It had to be this thick to really get the impressions on the actual little teapot. So just keep that in mind. If you have to, test out the set, see how far it goes on your machine. You might not have an Atlas pasta machine. You might have something else. And maybe you can get, a better cut on a different setting than what I'm getting. Anyway, that being said, I had to go back in with my Exacto knife because I wasn't getting a really great cut. And you have to understand, when I'm cutting these things out with these cutters, I really need to have some leverage from on top. So sometimes I have to stand up from my sitting position to get some decent push down on those cutters so that they'll come clean. So keep that in mind, because if you don't get a clean cut, go back in. I would suggest with your Exacto knife and make sure you could get a nice clean little teapot here as I'm doing right now. So as I'm using my tissue blade here to bring these little coffee pots up and the little cups that I had cut out, you will then bring in your Exacto knife, and I'm going to go ahead and lift these up, and I'm taking one of those coffee pots, I'm going to cut it in half. So right where the line is at the very bottom there, it looks like it has a little base to sit on, I cut that off, and then I cut off the one angle of that handle because it was just too long. I thought, let's go ahead and cut that and then push it back into the teapot. And it was like, yes, I got the perfect little teapot. Yay! I was so thrilled by that. I thought, yes. So do that with all 4 of these particular little tiny teapots. Now that you have those teapots altered, I'm going to go in with the bottom part that I had cut off, so don't throw it away. And I'm bringing in that stack one more time of the peach and the pink. Roll that back through your Atlas pasta machine on a number 6 setting, so it's going to be fairly thin. And the reason for that is because the white clay has been rolled out on the number 2. You don't need it to be terribly thick, okay? And then take one of these pieces, and you're going to go ahead and place that down on that piece. Now, I was thinking about doing this and I thought, oh, this would be really, really fun because it'll turn into a little tiny cup. Yes! I mean, why not, right? Now, it was a little tall because I thought, okay, I had shortened my teapot, so I got to shorten my cup a little bit. So come in and you do this with all 4 of those and then take off, I want to say about 2 rows, I think. 2 rows of the stripies on that particular little section, if you will. Now, once I get those stripes kind of cut out, I'm going to go ahead and reform that white clay on a number 2 setting with my Atlas pasta machine. I'm going to recut the coffee pot here, and I'm going to cut out the little stripes in the center area. When I get that cut out, I'm going to cut out the white section in one of the other teapots and just replace it with the striped area. Once I get those stripes put in place though, and I'm going to have 2 little cups, and then I'm going to have 2 teapots with the stripes in the center. Once I have those together, I will then kind of trim them up so that they're nice and neat. I'll take off the 2 sections on the bottom on the 2 cups, and then I'll start to place some of these teapots right around on the egg. And I'm using my liquid clay here to get that nice clay on clay bond when I go to bake it. And I'm going to place them at angles along onto that little black band that's running around the eggshell. From here though, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let you guys watch my hands talk as I put more and more of these little teapots and cups around onto the eggshell band. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our 30 gauge wire, and I've got 2 and 3 pieces each where I twist them up, and then I'm trimmed off the little bit there with my wire cutter, and then put a small dab of super glue on the very end. Like I said, this way then it kind of keeps all the wires in place, especially if they're a little loose. Even when you wrap them, it does help it just slightly. But once I have these in place, I'm going to bring in my egg here, and I'll start sticking these little gathered wires, if you will, right into the little cups and the little teapots. And eventually I'll bring in my Needlenose plier and curl up these little wires. And it'll look like there's steam coming out of the teapot and out of the little cups. And I'm like, yay! Now, I will have to say, during this part, I got a little bit crazy. I mean, I put them in every pot, and I was like 2 and 3, and after a while it became a lot. But I thought, well, let's just keep going. We can make this work, right? So anyways, this is what I'm doing right here. I'm curling these all up, all these little wires, all the way around the egg. Now that I have all the wires curled up, I'm bringing in a very large pearl. This is can't remember, I think it was about a ½ inch maybe in diameter. It's a pretty large pearl. It's a glass pearl. And I'm bringing in some of this rather maroonish type, purplish type clay. And I created a little ball there. It's about a ½ inch. And you're going to take that pearl and you're just going to push it down into that particular little ball. And this creates a little base for this pearl. This pearl is going to turn into a small teapot. And I love doing this. When you could take a piece of jewelry and just turn it into something that is not normally what it is intended for, I can't help myself. I get a thrill every time. But I'm taking another couple of balls here. I'm going to place one on top and just pat it down on there. That'll be the top of the teapot. And then the little snake here, of course, that's going to be the handle. And one more little piece here. I've got that. It's going to be the handle on the top of the teapot. And then another little ball, which I will create the spout. Once I have these pieces in place, and you could kind of see with that needle tool there, I went ahead and poked a hole down in there. The reason for that is because this is going to be our topper. So I need to have an eye pin go down into that pearl and hopefully into the clay a little bit. I will use some super glue to attach that all in after it's baked. At this point, I've gotten my teapot for the top done, but I thought, let's go ahead and do the bottom. So this is a ball of that same kind of pinkish purple clay. It was rolled out to be about a ½ inch in diameter, and then I'm bringing in some more of that 30 gauge wire. I'm going to make a loop, twist it up, and then I'm going to sink it right down into the bottom of that ball. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the egg with this all kind of synced in there, along with the topper that I had made for the egg. And we're going to place that in the oven at 275 degrees for about 7 to 10 minutes. All right, so by this time I've gotten the egg completely baked. Check where you live for baking times. I do 7 to 10 minutes because here it doesn't take long for that clay to bake in the oven. you know, I'm a mile above sea level. I mean, what can I say? So with that in mind, yeah, I can get away with a little bit less time. However, if you're at sea level and so on, it's going to take you a little longer. Anyway, with that said, I'm bringing in my paints here, and these are my metallic paints. I've got the pastel purple and the emerald flash and the silver anniversary, which I'm going to be using all throughout on my painting here. I'm going to paint in the cups, the teapots, and just have a lot of fun with that. Now that I have most all of my painting done up, I'm going to bring in my pencil here, and at the bottom of the egg, I'm going to create a line towards the center that rolls right over the point of the egg itself, and then I'm going to create a kind of like a north, south, east, west axis, if you will. Axis, or I never say it right. So that I get a point on the very bottom of this egg so I know where that point is. When I have that, I will then take the little purple round ball that I have put that little loop in, and I'm going to glue that into place. Now, when you do this, if you're really worried about being centered, bring in some rubber bands and run it around the egg. That'll help give you an idea of where complete center is. I'm eyeballing this. I just thought, just eyeball it and go. So use some rubber bands to give yourself a north and south type of axis to work off of. Anyways, once I have that, I'm also curling up the wires on my little teapot I had created. I'm going to glue him in on the top of the egg. And then once I have that done, I will also bring in some chain and a jump ring, a couple of jump rings actually, and another large pearl, and I'm going to recreate this same teapot and be able to hang it down at the bottom of the egg design. Once I have that done, I'm then also going to bring in some clear rhinestone chain, and I just thought it would be a nice little added flash to this egg, so I'll throw that in as well. But from here, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to let you guys watch my hands talk as I put together the rest of this design of our hearts and coffee pot eggshell design. Okay, so at this point, I had ended up with this kind of an eggshell design, and I really did like it, but I thought, there's gotta be a little bit more we could do to it. So I thought, all right, let's add in more. So tell me here at the end in the comments or whatever if that was a good idea or not. Okay, so welcome to the oops section, right? I mean, I have to do it, right? And really, at the end of this, please leave me a comment on this and tell me if you thought, okay, did I go too far or not or whatever? And if you like the video, please, hit the like button. This stuff always helps me in these videos. If you leave some kind of comment or whatever, it makes a difference for me. But anyways, I decided to go back to my cutter set, and right here I picked out two other teapots that I love this particular one. I thought he was so cute. I was like, we got to do him. So I cut out two of these in my white clay on that number 2 setting on my Atlas pasta machine. I took out the little inner parts where the handle was at, and you could tell I'm cleaning it up just a wee bit, but I also had gotten a good handle on this particular cutter, so I didn't have to do a lot of trimming. So also another thing to keep in mind when you're cutting down on these, try to get a nice clean cut. Anyways, I'm bringing in one of those teapots, and I thought, let's place that down at the bottom. I thought, what would that look like? And I loved it. I love you. Yes, okay. Laura might have pushed it too far. Who knows? It's up to you. But still, I had fun with this. It was so much fun. And then the other teapot, just like you saw there, I cut the bottom half off, or the bottom portion, so I could have it line up with that nice little curved area towards the top of the eggshell. That to me was huge, huge, because here's the thing. When I have these sections open like this, I always feel like maybe I should do something more to that. I don't know. I mean, I could paint it, yeah, but no, don't want to do. So let's go ahead and let's fill in with something else. And I had those cutters, why not use them? So brought in the cutters. I did kind of have to go in and use my needle tool to kind of shape up the little marks on this particular teapot. You might have to do that also with the other teapots, just kind of shape them up so you get that nice line. But other from that, all good. Anyways, when I did that, I was thinking, well, I like the white, but what about that purpley pink kind of color that I had? So I brought in my Kemper heart cutters, and I thought, let's add in kind of a nice little added feature to this particular teapot, especially since it's set up for that. The other one had lines right through it, okay? And I thought, don't really want to mess with that. However, this one didn't have any real lines through the body of the teapot. So bring in a nice little heart that I make with my Kemper cutters. That purple pink type clay was rolled out on a number 6 setting. I could go that thin because really the teapot was on a number 2. It's thick enough. You don't need too much more thickness. And placed that heart. I was like, I like that. It's so cute. And you could tell here I placed this on another eggshell. Why is that? Well, because I didn't want to have to rebake the one that I had already baked. So as long as I had the teapot forms on another eggshell, I could bake that on the spare egg, put it in the oven, bake them up to what I need, and then just pop them off with my needle tool and then glue them back into the original egg where I want them. Now, once I did this with the white, I thought, why not make a couple of purple ones as well? So yes, purple tea. I thought, it could look really good. Well, okay, pop them off. And you don't have to necessarily do this, but I thought if all else fails, I'll take the other 2 teapots, put them into another eggshell design. But for right now, I thought this way then I have the option, right? Well, as it turns out, and as you can tell by the design, yeah, I went with the purple, and I think it was because the white was just too overwhelmingly white. There's a lot of shell there that's already white. What if we put in some color? And that made the more sense to me. So that's what I did. So I placed in the 2 teapots, I glued those in. And then while I was thinking about it, I thought, wait a minute, I got a bunch of pre-baked little tiny hearts all sitting in my one container. Let's take those out and throw those in too. So all these little tiny hearts, and I know you're going to be like, Okay, she might have gone just a wee bit overboard. But that's how I finished it out. So from here, guys, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys watch my hands talk one more time and enjoy me putting together this crazy, in my mind, heart and teapot eggshell design. All right, so this is the design I ended up with, and you'll notice I took out some of the wire. I thought it might help the design a little bit, and to me it really did, because there was so much wire, it just seemed to overtake everything. So I took out a little wire, I added in more hearts, but I had a lot of fun with this. So these are the overall end results of creating my Hearts and Teapot eggshell design. Please use this for study and reference. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. It always helps me out. Otherwise, I am sending you my biggest hugs, and I hope you have a fantastic day.